Well, thank you all so much for joining us here in the brand track today. I hope you did get to enjoy Jen's presentation, but if you weren't able to, please make sure to give us your card so that we can send it over to you because it was very informative. I'm going to be focusing more on the relationships, like Rachel said, with influencers and how to have really long-term relationships instead of one-off partnerships. So let's dive in. Here's a little bit about me, kind of an overview. I started a blog in 2006 and I have also been working in social media since then. The majority of my background is in luxury, fashion, and beauty, so you will probably hear me make references to fashion and skincare. It's just kind of my safe space. It's what I know. I've been so lucky to work with best-in-class brands like David Yurman and NARS Cosmetics and Clé de Peau, and I actually was part of the team that executed the first live stream runway show from Bryant Park for New York Fashion Week, which makes me feel like an ancient dinosaur sometimes when I think about it. At Ultraviolet, I lead the social media team. We oversee the strategy and the execution for all of our wonderful clients, including Nest Studio Hardware. And a little bit about what we do at the agency. I'm sure you've heard a lot about Ultraviolet in the past hour, but we do really incredible things with home businesses. I would say we particularly shine in the B2B space, which I feel like a lot of brands and agencies don't often get the attention that they deserve on the B2B side. So please look into the work that we do because we are very proud, and we have some Pinterest information cards over here on the table if you are looking for more information on how to get your Pinterest account rocking and rolling. As Jen mentioned, here are some of our clients. Of course, Nest Studio, Swenson Granite, Polycore, Instone, Lucy Penfield. Love her so very much. I hope you all are familiar with her work. And this, of course, is the incredible Jessica Davis, who is just part of Elle Decor's A-list, which is a fantastic honor.
Thank you. So I guess I'll introduce myself. I am local to Atlanta now, been here about 3.5 years, and I'm the founder of Atelier Davis, which is my design studio, but as well as Nest Hardware. Nest I founded close to 10 years ago, and I used to be in New Jersey, and then I founded Atelier Davis recently when I moved down to Atlanta. I've always been in the design space. I worked for a large hospitality design firm, and started a tiny blog like in 2010, I want to say, and sort of got on this track to being an influencer, and then transitioned to my hardware brand, but have always been kind of interested in partnering with brands, both from my design side and from my hardware side. So we partner with influencers to get content out there to showcase our hardware, but I also partner with companies in projects like my own home so that they can get content.
And that's part of the reason I wanted her to join us today, because she has kind of a 360 perspective of what it's like to work with brands as an influencer, but also be an influencer, from the design space as well. So I think you have so much to add to this conversation. Okay, so first we want to understand the influencer landscape. Like Jen showed, these are a few of the design collaborators that we work with at the agency so that you can get a better idea of the caliber of influencers that we look for. It doesn't necessarily always have to do with the size of their audience. It oftentimes is also a reflection of their incredible talent. And taking a closer look at influencer tiers by reach, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with terms like nano influencer, micro influencer, mid-tier, all the way up to mega influencers. There are benefits of working with, kind of everyone at different tiers. It often has a lot to do with your budget, kind of your brand size. There's a variety of factors, but we've started in the marketing world classifying influencers in these tiers to help kind of narrow down budgets and really understand the type of influencer that we want to target. It's a great time to kind of ask before you dive into that tier, is influencer marketing right for every brand? The answer is not always yes, and I think that's something that people don't always like to hear, right? Because influencer marketing is such a huge buzzword. But if you're looking for something as simple as awareness, try an unexpected brand partnership instead. I am sure that on your Instagram feeds, you've seen your favorite beauty brand collaborating with a tabletop brand, for example, or a candle brand, things that don't really make sense. But what you can do is you can work with fellow brands, create content in partnership with them, and then send dedicated emails to each of your own databases. That maximizes your reach. It gets you brand new eyeballs that didn't know that you existed, and your costs are kept to a minimum. But if you want sales, let's think about it this way. So there are tons of beauty creators. If you're familiar with the beauty creators on TikTok, Michaela is #1, the queen bee. We all listen to her and buy what she says. But she's an overall beauty influencer. So if you're a skincare brand, you probably don't want to partner with someone like Michaela if you're working with a limited budget. So you want to try to find a skincare influencer. But there are still some skincare influencers out there who have huge reach, who will probably charge you anywhere in like 5 to 6 figures for a campaign. If you're launching a new acne product, you want to find the influencer who's known for talking about acne products. Niche down as far as you can in that funnel to find someone to drive those sales. If you're looking for content, working with nano to micro-size influencers to license their content for social proof advertising is the way to go. So ask yourself what your goal is and then kind of tailor your campaign and your influencer outreach in that way. Don't just say, I want to work with an influencer. Why? And how to find relevant influencers. So your biggest brand advocate could already be right under your nose on branded hashtags, in your tagged photos, in your top customer list, and in your referral traffic. If you're not diving into your Google Analytics to see where your traffic is coming from, that is step 1. Go see where it's coming from. Is it Pinterest? Is there someone talking about you that you have no idea that they're linking to your website? I know you guys find so many influencers. What's some of your favorite ways?
I spend a lot of time on Instagram just sort of perusing on my own. But yeah, I think that we're looking at people who are aspirational to us and the people who might follow them and also sort of comment on their posts and interact with them. So, we might love like Nate Bergkus or something, but not be able to afford a partnership with him. But who are the other people that are kind of in that realm that are smaller that maybe we could give our hardware to, and they might post some beautiful pictures of installs, because that's like our biggest challenge, to get install photos. So, knowing that that is our goal is important. And then, so it might not be how many followers they have, it's really about like the quality of the followers too.
Yeah, kind of understanding what you want to do with the end product, the end piece of content is really crucial. Because if you want to put it on your website, if you want to run social ads, that's maybe a different kind of content than you want if you're trying to look for awareness or sales. All right, so how to structure these influencer partnerships. The anatomy of a successful influencer partnership starts with clear communication, but it also starts with clearly defined brand goals and deadlines, right? You want to say, this is what we're looking for, this is when we need it by, this is when we want to have our edits in, this is when we need the post to go live. Already have that planned out before you even try to find an influencer. You want to find an influencer who has a genuine connection with their audience. A lot of people talk about authenticity, and that is a word for it, but there's something I think a little deeper about the influencers who have a real community around them. They recognize people when they come on their lives. They know the stories of their followers. I think that's so important. You don't want followers to kind of be nameless and faceless. Of course, there's always going to be those followers, but you want them to have the core community that supports them in whatever they do. Fair compensation, and want to kind of reiterate that back to the very far corner of the room. You want to appropriately value the influencer's time. So many times I'm still getting emails in my inbox and they're like, hey, we want 3 TikToks for this moisturizer. Really? 3 TikToks. Do you know how long it would take me to film 3 TikToks in exchange for a moisturizer? It's ridiculous. So I always like to kind of liken it to, if you're getting paid to send me this email for things you want me to do, I should also be getting paid, right? So fair compensation. If you can't offer them compensation, I have some alternative ideas for you. So, and a campaign brief that outlines the deliverables, sets expectations, and provides the influencer with samples. Show them a mood board. Show them previous pieces of content that they've published that you like, that you want them to emulate for this campaign. Show them pictures from Kelly Wersler's Instagram, if that's what you want it to look like. Give them exactly what you want so there's no gray area in what you're looking for.
Can I add something there
Please.
also? Like, one thing that we do is kind of back out of it. So say we are giving some hardware to a designer who's doing a show house. How much is the hardware worth? You know, what is the value, retail or trade? What would they pay for it? So, you know, we might not be paying them to actually do the post, depending on who it is, but we might give them X value of hardware. How much would we normally pay for photography? Then we'll back out of that and say, okay, you need to give us 2 photos that we can use on social media, you know, full rights, whatever it may be, and we want you to do X number of Instagram posts or reels, that kind of thing. And like you said, I think it's thinking about what the value of the product and the ask is.
Absolutely. And I will say the Nest team has it down when it comes to keeping track of the rights to each of their photos and where they got it from and what project it was associated with. The level of organization done by the incredible Charlotte, who's right here in front, is awe-inspiring, frankly. Wish everyone was so organized. So there are multiple types of influencer partnerships. You probably think of, I pay you X, you post on your channel Y, right? But that's not always the most beneficial influencer partnership. So it could be content that lives exclusively on their channel, your brands, or both, photo rights exclusively for social media, or digital advertising, print, billboards, etc. A one-time fee, royalties, or increased affiliate commission. So especially when you're looking at one-time compensation, that could be for a product collaboration. You might pay them an upfront flat fee, and that's it. A combination of upfront flat fee and royalties, or a fee and an increased affiliate commission so that they are incentivized to promote your collaboration. They can host events, appearances, live videos, and do media tours on behalf of your brand. You can have a dedicated email newsletter to their subscribers. Everybody has an email newsletter these days, not just brands. So can you work an exclusive email into your contract with them? It's a really good idea. Product collaborations, of course, and then a brand ambassadorship. Establishing rates. I know this is the one everybody always has questions about, and I'm very sorry to tell you that there is not a straightforward answer. However, I do have some tips. So a starting point for influencer rates can generally be $100 per 1,000 followers. It's kind of a guideline that people like to start from, but it is definitely not something that every influencer will use. Category exclusivity, like usage, is an added cost. So say you want to partner with an influencer and you're let's say like you're a candle company, because I feel like flooring would not make any sense, and that was my first thought. But you're a candle company. You don't want this influencer to post about any other candle companies for 3 months. That's going to cost you. You're keeping them from getting other opportunities, so it is an added cost. Each piece of content has an associated cost. So if you want 3 stories, you've got a paper story. If you want a feed post, a reel, video production is always going to be more expensive. But everything is negotiable, like when you're buying a car. If it's taxable, it's negotiable, is what I like to say. So understanding content rights and usage is very important. I think a lot of times we think about paying the creator to create the content, but we don't think about what happens after that, right? So if you want to use content in association with direct commerce, that means your website, product pages, your email newsletter, outside of a standard social media release, that's probably going to be an added cost if the influencer is experienced. If you want to promote the influencer's content as an ad, that's usually outside of the standard social media release too. And usage generally has an expiration date. Some people want the rights in perpetuity. I don't recommend any influencer do that, but it is great for the brand if you can get it. The longer the term, the more expensive the rights, just like exclusivity. A lot of brands work into their contracts that you can kind of have an opportunity to re-up that usage fee for another year, another 6 months at a standard fee. And then if the influencer works with a photographer or a videographer, you might need additional usage rights as well. So think about not just the content that they're going to create, but where it's going. Be a human, please. We're all humans, right? So you want the best out of this relationship. Schedule a meeting with them, schedule a call, get to know them, have coffee, have cocktails, treat them like another human being. Because you don't know how far this relationship can take you. You know, Jen in her presentation was talking about Ava Murray, and we as an agency worked with her on, you know, an install, but she wanted to go to the quarry. She's still tagging the brand in Instagram posts over a year or two later. It's
4 years.
4 years. We're still getting Instagram tags 4 years later.
Yeah.
Treat everybody with respect, not like it's a transaction. So show examples, like I mentioned earlier, the kind of content that you're looking for, provide deadlines, both for you and the influencer. And then of course, be transparent about your brand goals. Say, I'm looking for sales, or I want to grow my followers. It's as simple as that. I wanted to show you guys a little bit about what goes into a typical influencer campaign in an infographic, because I know not all of us like to read so much. So clear deadlines, brand guidelines and overview. That means if you have certain logos you want them to use, include those in a deck. You got brand colors, include those in the deck too. Share the product information, share the story, the dimensions, anything that they might need to know when they're creating content, put that in the deck too. Content examples and mood boards, like I mentioned, and then make sure you know your asset amplification plan before you approach the influencer. Are you going to promote it? Do you want it to go on a website, an internal presentation? Anything that you want to use it for, make sure you know that up front. All right, this is kind of my most anticipated slide, because there are all kinds of ways to collaborate, even if you don't have a budget. So if you were here in the session before, there was a woman who was asking, she was trying to pitch brands as an interior designer, and she was not really getting a lot of return from them. She wasn't getting response, she wasn't getting collaborations. Make sure that you are being as creative as you can. She was saying that, that because she's a designer, there's no product involved. She's the product, it's her knowledge. So find an influencer, collaborate with them on 5 ways to mix patterns, or 3 ways to put chartreuse in your house. There's a million different things, but you're still the product. So put yourself in those situations. Something really interesting that's happening is there's a beauty brand called Nude Sticks, and I actually thought that they were on their way to closing, but they've decided to revitalize their brand using a celebrity stock option plan. They're making these influencers investors in their brands, which then means that the influencer is invested in the long-term success of the company because they are financially vested. Incentivize the campaign results. Okay, say you're working with a small influencer, but wouldn't it be great if their video went viral? Yeah, it would. Give them a fee if their video gets 1 million views. Build that into the contract. Incentivize those results. People love money, and you'll get money if they get 1 million results through sales or awareness or email newsletter subscribers, right? It all trickles down. So build that into your contract. And you can also do things like smaller campaign fees for higher affiliate commission. So maybe your standard affiliate commission is 10%, 15%. Give the influencer 30%, and they'll be more incentivized to link to your products even on an ongoing basis. Designer partnerships. This is your special bread and butter. Look at this house. Is it not gorgeous? Oh, so you've worked with Fireclay Tile, Velux Skylights, Polycore, Spoonflower, all on this beautiful home. How has that been for you, kind of coming out of being a blogger, starting all the way to being a designer and a tastemaker and having this incredible relationship?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. I think that, you know, most designers probably don't have the same budgets as their clients do. So this was my own home, and in order to get the renovation done, I decided to reach out to brands to partner with them. So I created a whole brand deck that kind of talked about, how many followers we have, what we were aiming to do with press, because I'd probably be in the sort of lower end range, especially when I started this project follower-wise. But we knew we were pitching it to long lead press, so it ended up in the New York Times, in Atlanta Magazine Home, and it's gonna be in Better Homes and Gardens in November. So it's been sort of a long-lived campaign for these brands. And what was I gonna say? And I'm doing phase 2, and again, using some of the same brands, and we continue to tag them, even though, we done that project a while back. And I would say that, look at influencers and designers who are maybe talking about doing a project. We all know that Emily Henderson is doing her big farmhouse. She's probably getting paid by a bunch of companies to collaborate, but maybe there's somebody smaller and they're about to embark on a renovation. Maybe you can get your product in there. So thinking through, those types of things. And all of these products are different from one another. So I think somebody mentioned competing products. I wouldn't use fire clay tile and then also use, clay tile. They wouldn't like that so much, so. And then each one of them has a agreement with us on how many blog posts we're gonna do, how much photography we're gonna provide them. And I photograph all of my projects, and it's important as an influencer and somebody who's partnering with brands to be really upfront with the photographer if we're expecting them to give the rights to our partner brands as well.
That's great. Oh, so beautiful.